Hello everyone, this is Devin, and in this video we have a Q&A. We have one question from YouTube. I'm excited, this is the first Q&A for this video challenge. This question is from Mossle and Octayvan. How would you suggest improving self-discipline for purposes such as getting over procrastination? Self-discipline is a really interesting topic. I am happy to answer this question. It is particularly interesting from the procrastination standpoint. I think if you solve one, you solve the other. Self-discipline, just in general, and procrastination are kind of the same problem. Really, procrastinating is a lack of self-discipline. And many of the issues with self-improvement are a lack of self-discipline. So the first thing to think about, I think, is like how you frame this issue. A lot of people think that self-discipline is something that you either have or you don't, or it's something that you kind of just get one day, or that you don't have until you get it that one day. But self-discipline is actually an aggregate. It's actually a series of things that lead you to your sort of end result of being a self-disciplined person. For example, there are a lot of disciplined people in some areas that are not disciplined in other areas. I am very disciplined in certain things like my nutrition, and I'm very disciplined in things like my exercise, but I suffer in areas of discipline like my sleep schedule. And it's just kind of a constant balancing act of getting those areas up. What I can tell you though is if you are kind of starting on the path of being self-disciplined and you feel like there's nothing that you have right now that makes you self-disciplined, you need to start with very small things. Most of the successful people that I've read about and that I know are highly ritualized people. And what I mean by ritual is that they do things on a time frame or by habit. They have things that they do every day the same way. And these things build them into a sort of routine, which then makes it easier to exercise self-discipline. Because I think that if you are trying to attack self-discipline by just like sheer willpower, you're gonna tire yourself and you're gonna burn out. Some suggestions I have for like exercise, for example, like this is a really big question, right? Like self-discipline in so many different areas. So, and this is part of one of those things where if we're answering questions on here, if you have specific questions about like maybe like your life circumstances, I might be able to better address those because I might have better context. But attacking self-discipline is kind of the whole area. We need to focus on a couple of issues that I assume like a lot of people have, so I'll focus on those. Let's take exercise. Like exercise is a big issue for a lot of people. Like how do I stay self-disciplined with exercise? Well, I found that if I tried to make myself go to the gym every morning, it was super tough because unless I had someone else to go with or I had some kind of like reason to be there, I had to be really, really firm on my emotional reasons. So I had to write down like, this is what you're gonna look like if you're 20 pounds heavier. This is what you're gonna look like if you're 20 pounds lighter. This is what people are gonna say about you. This is how you're gonna feel in your body. This is the energy. I would get myself amped up like that. And that was the way I went to the gym. But the only way that I got really consistent with exercise is I started signing up for classes. So in particular, I'm very big on hot yoga. I take a lot of hot yoga, almost 5 times a week. And the reason I'm able to do it so consistently is because I just sign up for the class and then I know I have to be there at 1 p.m., at 3:30, whatever it is. And if I don't do that, you can kind of just go to the gym whenever. You can sort of exercise whenever. And so whenever is never, you'll never get around to it. So I think you have to hold yourself accountable for self-discipline by setting things up in such a way that you can win. You need to set things up in such a way that you can schedule them, or it can become a routine. Like, I also eat the same thing every morning. So I just have a simple Trader Joe's salad that's a kale bistro salad, and I have fish with it, so salmon. I buy the same thing and I make sure it's around the same time. So it's very easy for me to make a decision. If I'm left with no food, then maybe I'll decide to go out. Maybe I'll decide to kind of break my vows around my nutrition, and then it becomes a lot easier to make mistakes. But if you set up your routine in such a way where you can win and you consistently have that variable that's kind of appears in your life over and over again, it should be way easier to become self-disciplined. One thing I want to caution against is the idea of self-discipline just being removed from you because you're like not the sort of person. Every single person can be self-disciplined. It's a matter of setting up routines in a way that you can win, like we talked about, and also giving yourself the emotional reasons, kind of the pain and pleasure principles. So what are the things that'll happen if you don't do this? Try to imagine the kind of person you'll become if you don't exercise every day. How that person will look, how that person will feel, what's going to happen when you start having health issues 20 or 30 years down the road, and go through that whole mental process, and then do the opposite for the pleasure, which is imagine how you'll feel every day. Imagine how much quicker and how much more in your body you'll feel and how great you'll feel. Imagine what people will say about you. Imagine what you'll look like in the mirror and how good you'll feel. And you really have to attach yourself to those emotional reasons. And once you have those really set in stone, you'll set the schedule for the accountability for things like exercise and things like that. The other thing I can encourage you to do is small things throughout the day. So one thing that I always make sure that I do is I make my bed every day. It's a really simple exercise. I learned about it from a keynote speech from a general, and I also heard about it from a couple of the podcasts that I watch or listen to, and some of the content that I watch. Just a small thing like that about making your bed at the beginning of the day, it gives you a small victory in the beginning of the day, and it gives you a win when you come back to your bed at the end of the day. So I make sure to do that every single day. That's been a big improvement. So if you're looking for little things that you can kind of shift around, like, okay, every time that my girlfriend's really big on this one, is every time that you clean a dish, or every time you finish a dish, every time you eat something, you clean it. And I think that's another like really good idea. It's like these small things that you can do to build self-discipline consistently that allow you to then become a self-disciplined person. But you don't want to think about it like, how do I improve my self-discipline as a whole? I can give you some suggestions for that too. That like the number one would just be meditation, just a daily practice of meditation to increase your self-discipline. But I don't think you're going to succeed attacking it like that. I think the only way that you're going to succeed is by knocking down the things that you can do consistently, scheduling yourself in a way that makes it easy, and having other people hold yourself accountable until those things become routines. And the other thing too is challenges, right? I really like the idea of challenges where I think if you challenge yourself to do something, so one that I participated in was a 7-day challenge for hot yoga. Just go 7 days. And I found that it was a lot easier after that to go 5 times a week or 3 times or 4 times a week because I'd already kind of gotten in the mode of doing it. And I think it only takes about 30 days, maybe 40 days to really build like a habit. So once you start eating well and you do it consistently, it won't seem so crazy a month or two down the line that you're eating that way every day. It seems like really crazy if you like want to give up sugar. Like maybe that's like another one that's like really hard for some people because like every like night they want to eat sugar or something. But if you just like challenge yourself and say, okay, I'm not going to do that for 7 days, you teach your body, and then you have someone hold you accountable. You have like a friend or a family member that watches you, that you report to. Then all of a sudden, like it becomes a lot more realistic to do something like that. And after you finish the challenge, you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Or maybe you decide, hey, that's like not for me. That's something I can do kind of 3 times a week, but I don't necessarily want to go the full 7. But you'll be able to have more context, and you'll be able to kind of show yourself and kind of increase your self-confidence because your self-discipline is gradually getting stronger and stronger. Imagine it like a muscle that you have to train. Very similar to going to the gym 3 times a week or 4 times a week or 5 times a week to build a certain muscle group. Your muscle gets stronger with training. It's exactly the same as your mind. The ideas of self-discipline, the reduction of procrastination come from simply holding yourself accountable and by doing the things consistent to win. It's not like some giant obstacle. It's just a series of small, consistent things you can do to win. So those are some ideas. I think kind of to summarize it, I would definitely say, and that's sort of a blanket statement for all my personal development, which is a daily practice of meditation, I think is the number one thing you can do to improve self-discipline and just self-improvement in general. If I can give one piece of advice, it's that any kind of like basic Vipassana meditation, which you can just look up. It's basically focusing on your breathing for 15 to 20 minutes a day. And then holding yourself accountable and then challenging yourself to missions like 7-day, 14-day, 30-day challenges. And focusing on the very small things like make your bed, clean up. One thing I noticed, you might notice like when I started these videos, we had the fireplace behind me was like really dirty. There was like a lot of stuff on it. And just as I've become a more self-actualized person, I've said, I prefer clean environments. I like nice things to be clean. I like things to be clean like my mind is clean, my desk is clean, and It's something that I've built up over time. And now pretty much everything in my house is clean because it's something that keeps my mind space clean. So you'll just gradually build these kind of levels as you go, and you'll get to the point where you're self-disciplined before you know it. But this is one of those things, don't think about the end result, really think about the steps you need to take to get there, and start on like 1 to 2 really small things. Like just start making your bed. And if you do that, make your bed for the next 3 days, every day, and leave a comment about how you feel and what kind of difference it made. And I guarantee you it'll have like at least a 5% difference in your overall quality of life that day. Just make your bed and tell me what you think. Leave a comment, all of you, and just let me know what you think. Thank you so much. I think this is a really productive video. I hope it added a lot of value to you as always, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you for the next video. Thank you for all your support of this channel, all your comments, and keep asking questions, specific questions, anything about your life, about your business, about your work, about your job. Remember, there's really a lot of areas that I think I can help contribute, and I really want to help out. So please continue this dialogue. This is a great Q&A. I'm really glad to have that back and forth with you guys. I'd love to hear from you guys again. So looking forward to that. See you guys again next time.